You may be seated. At this time, I would like to recognize the individuals seated here on the rostrum with me. I would ask that you please stand when I call your name. Reverend Stephen Herr of Christ Lutheran Church. Joanne Handley, President, Gettysburg Foundation. D. Scott Hartwig, President of the Lincoln Fellowship of Pennsylvania. Tony Bryson, District Director, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Wayne Hill, soloist. Steve Wheeler, Supervisory Immigration Services Officer. James Getty, as President Abraham Lincoln. Dr. Janet Morgan Riggs, President of the Gettysburg College. Stephen Lang, our keynote speaker this morning. Also General Pickett and General Stonewall Jackson. United States Congressman Todd Platts, representing the Pennsylvania's 19th District. Reverend Joseph A. Danella, chaplain of Gettysburg College. And Bob Krugery, Superintendent of Gettysburg National Military Park. My name is Charlie Kuhn. I'm the Vice President of the Lincoln Fellowship of Pennsylvania and your MC for the day. We also need to recognize some individuals in the audience. We are delighted to have several members of Mr. Lang's family with us today. Please stand to be recognized. Where are they at? Okay, they're down here. Okay. His wife Tina, his sister Jane, her husband Paul, his daughter Lucy, and her friend Scott, and his father Eugene. Also joining us today is the Mayor of Gettysburg, Bill Troxell, and his wife Honey. Dr. Gabor Esport, Director Emeritus of the Civil War Institute at Gettysburg College and a past president of the Lincoln Fellowship. Dr. Peter Carmichael, the current Director of the Civil War Institute at Gettysburg College and speaker for today's Lincoln Fellowship Luncheon. Sarah Geary of Somerset, Pennsylvania, and her family. Sarah is the winner of the 2011 Lincoln Fellowship Essay Contest. I would also like to ask author Robin Oliveira and Professor Joan Weil of UCLA to please stand. Are they out here? Yeah, there they are. Robin is a recipient of this year's Sheriff Prize in Excellence for Civil War Fiction, and Joan is this year's Fortin-Ball speaker. These individuals will be featured tonight at the Majestic Theater at 7:30 p.m., and you all are invited to attend. I now invite Reverend Joseph A. Danella, chaplain of the Gettysburg College, to deliver the invocation. Please stand.
Be with us, Lord of hosts. You are the life of our life and strength of our souls. We praise and bless you for your kindness and mercy. Shine your radiance into our hearts and minds and inspire us with the light of understanding, that we might know the true measure of life's great mystery. At a moment when this nation faced one of its darkest hours, you saw us through sorrow and suffering and trial. You made it possible for us to venture beyond hurt and division, to lend our strength that we might complete the unfinished work of our forefathers and mothers. This day, as we recall what was so valiantly and painfully secured, may we with eagerness and full allegiance rededicate ourselves to the establishment of a cherished and better way. Help us to vouchsafe for generations yet to come those things that advance the promise of freedom and peace, justice and unity. Then, may we continue to dwell in friendship and gladness with you and with all the world. Be with us, Lord of hosts. Blessed are you forever. Amen.
You may be seated. Today we celebrate Lincoln. On the very day he delivered a few appropriate remarks here in Gettysburg to dedicate the Soldiers' National Cemetery. Since 1938, the Lincoln Fellowship of Pennsylvania has been commemorating this important date, and we need to thank our co-sponsors, the Gettysburg National Military Park and Civil War Institute at Gettysburg College. It is now my pleasure to invite Dr. Janet Morgan Riggs, President of the Gettysburg College, to the podium to introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Charlie, and good morning to all of you. It's truly a pleasure to be here with you today. On behalf of Gettysburg College, I bring you greetings. As some of you may know, we at Gettysburg College do feel a very direct and personal connection with this cemetery and with the Gettysburg Address. As Bob Kirby mentioned, after the Battle of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania Governor Andrew Curtin asked a local prominent attorney, David Wills, to procure the land for a cemetery to bury those who had fallen during the battle. What Bob didn't mention is that David Wills was a Gettysburg College alumnus, a connection of which we are very proud. David Wills also issued the formal invitation to President Lincoln to attend the dedication of the cemetery, and he hosted him in his own home the evening before, 148 years ago. Today, as we remember that historic moment, we are very fortunate to have with us a well-known actor who has portrayed a variety of characters in popular films, on television, and on stage. But I believe the roles that Stephen Lang holds closest to his heart are the ones that involve the military and military history. Stephen Lang currently stars as Commander Nathaniel Taylor in the Fox TV series Terra Nova. He's well known for his portrayal of Colonel Miles Quaritch in the critically acclaimed film Avatar. He played Civil War officer Stonewall Jackson in the 2003 production of Gods and Generals. On Broadway, he was in the original production of A Few Good Men, and he's performed in the one-man show Beyond Glory, a series of monologues portraying servicemen from various eras who have earned the Congressional Medal of Honor. This work has taken him across the globe, including performances on the front in Afghanistan. Stephen Lang also provides a familiar voice on Gabor and Jake Borett's audio tour of the Gettysburg battlefield, serving as the narrator. But among members of today's audience, I think Stephen Lang is probably best known for his portrayal of General George Pickett in Ron Maxwell's film Gettysburg. It is with great pleasure that I introduce today's Dedication Day speaker, Stephen Lang.
The rude clay of freedom was thrown on the wheel of revolution by our founding fathers. A fragile and imperfectly shaped vessel of democracy, somehow weathered and fitfully matured in the westward winds of continental expansion. And 85 years later, the vessel was violently shoved into the fiery kiln of the Civil War to test whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. Long endure. It's a relative term. I recently was in Rome for a few days, where I spent some fascinating hours in the Colosseum and in the Forum, touring and reflecting on the glory that was Rome. From its mythic beginnings in the 8th century BC to its final and overdue demise in the 4th century AD, the glory lasted about 1,000 years. In walking the ruins where senators and tribunes held the world in their palms, where gladiators and centurions strutted like superstars, where all and everything was rendered unto Caesar, I was awed by this center of the wheel of the ancient world, the hub to which all roads led. But perhaps more awesome is not the word. More startling, more sobering was the completeness, the totality, the finality of its fall. Now be calm. Don't roll your eyes. I'm not here to lecture or to hector on the hubris of empire building. Another day, another venue. I want to talk about time. 1,000 years. That's a long time to endure, but again, long. Long endure, it's a relative term. And it seems to me now that Rome came and went in the blink of an eye. For this is an element of the relativity of time. As time passes, it compresses into an era, an age, a word, a phrase, the glory that was Rome. 1,600 years have passed since the empire fell, and as I toured the ruins and stared into the arena, I detected not a trace of life, or rather, not a trace of a living past. I felt no presence, no spirit, no ghosts, no whispers of the dead. Surely I could conjure in my mind's eye and ear images, but any distant echoes of triumphal horns and clashing arms were obliterated by the din of traffic and construction. You see, the present is loud and vibrant in this magnificent city, but the past, on ironic display around every corner, in every square, the past is silent. The stone remained stone, the marble cold, the relics and ruins impassive and impervious. Not so this place, because this is a quiet place, and not all roads lead here. Just a few. Well, maybe a few more than a few, but not many more. And the roads don't so much lead to Gettysburg as they lead through Gettysburg, because Gettysburg is a crossroads. And at a crossroads in 1761, Samuel Getty built a tavern, and a town was founded. And for 100 years, Gettysburg quietly bustled and serenely thrived, because the ground was good. The soil holds water well. The hot summers make a good peach, and the cool autumns make the apples crisp and sweet. But then, for 3 days in July 1863, the town became the white-hot center of the kiln. And that fire has not died yet. The voices of battle still reverberate. Walk the fields in the early dawn or at dusk, and you will hear something. The whistle of artillery, the snap of standards in the breeze, the echoing yell of hard-charging gray phantoms, and the awful thunderous silence of the dead. The embers glow to this day. Our job on Dedication Day is to blow on the embers, to keep the fire alive. And we are aided in this by the very place itself. Because after the deeds were done, and the dead were buried, and the words were spoken, the quiet returned. And to this day, Gettysburg stands apart, almost aloof. Gettysburg lies just off the beaten track. And when we meet here, it is unlike two great armies, not by accident. We come here essentially for one reason: to dedicate a portion of ourselves to experiencing and understanding the deeds that were done here, the words that were spoken here, and in gaining some understanding, making a commitment to come again and again, to renew and to deepen our understanding of a new birth of freedom. So I am thankful for the quiet here, and I hope it remains so. And I am thankful to the good people of Gettysburg who are, by virtue of fate and geography, caretakers for a nation. You know, I'm often asked, why is it that I portray so many historical figures, both real and imagined, so many military figures, both real and imagined? My casual answer is that I have good posture and an authoritative voice. But it's a good question. And I believe that at least part of the answer can be found here in Gettysburg. You know, if you examine any prominent actor's career, you'll find there are certain themes, currents that run and develop throughout. Clint Eastwood, for example, the outsider who administers justice, or Jack Nicholson, the rule breaker, or Gregory Peck, the upright man of determination who works within the system. Themes: sacrifice, duty, courage, humility. These themes run strong in this place. And these are themes that have interested me for many years. Why? Well, I suppose it has to do with the human being that I aspire to be, and with what I perceive to be the contradictions within my own character. How do I square sacrifice with my own indulgence? How strong is my sense of duty next to my tendency towards irresponsibility? What dominates, my humility or my vanity? Don't answer that. And if put to the test, does courage or cowardice come forth from within? You see, there's no question in my mind that my maturation, my development as a human being has been guided, informed, and fortified by the character work that I've done throughout the years. The research, the empathy, the sense of the pretend made real has shaped how I think, how I act, has molded who I am. And if I have brought my own tools or gifts to, say, George Pickett or Stonewall Jackson, if I've brought my good posture and commanding voice to them, Well, they have brought much to me. The dichotomy of Jackson's by turn peaceful and warlike nature, his New Testament humility and his Old Testament ferocity, they're now permanent parts of my makeup as well. The boyishly joyful and optimistic vitality of George Pickett, combined with the sad incomprehension of defeat, that's part of me too. And just to illustrate the point, I'll add an imagined character. Avatar's Colonel Quaritch. He's proved to be a memorable villain according to many, but he is memorable because of the contradictions, the perversion of noble qualities, leadership, charisma, courage, fortitude. It's the contradictions that enrich. In exploring contradictions, a complete character emerges. And so it is with this place, a place of beauty, where truly ugly things happened. A place of honest glory, and a place of vanity and foolishness. A place of song and poetry, a place of silence and emptiness. Of eloquence, of speechless horror, of genius, of stupidity, of meaning, of futility. A place where some felt the hand of God, where some felt God had turned away. A place of life and death. A simple place, a place of complexity that refuses to be simplified. On behalf of myself and my family, I must thank the Lincoln Fellowship of Pennsylvania, the Civil War Institute of Gettysburg College, Gettysburg National Military Park, and my gracious friends at the Lincoln Forum. I thank them for allowing me the privilege of and charging me with the responsibility to say some words worth hearing on this solemn and inspirational occasion. Gettysburg is a place of echoes, words spoken, deeds done. 148 years ago, still whisperingly reverberate with soul-stirring resonance on these hills, in these fields, and it's humbling to be asked to add my voice to the rich symphony of this hallowed place. And as I prepared my remarks, I perused the roster of previous Dedication Day speakers, and I realized I could easily be intimidated by the oratorical prowess of Mario Cuomo, the deep knowledge of Lincoln scholars, Harold Holzer, Gabor Bort, the military brilliance of General Colin Powell, the historical expertise of Ken Burns or James McPherson, and perhaps most intimidating of all, the sheer, mellifluous beauty of the voice of the late Shelby Foote. Their voices are all part of the Gettysburg echo. But I take solace in the safe assumption that each of these individuals have surely been humbled themselves and perhaps even intimidated by the absolute knowledge that no matter what one says here, no matter how profound, poetic, or inspirational, one is doomed to come in second at best. No words will ever match the enduring power and eloquence of 272 brilliantly crafted words spoken 148 years ago today by our 16th and our greatest president, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln himself was pleased to note that his brief speech was not a total failure. I hope for no more. I will close with words of dedication from one of our greatest, and these words are dedicated to the memory of all who fell here, the blue and the grave. Walt Whitman wrote, "But now I sing not of war, nor the measured march of soldiers, nor the tents of camps, nor the regiments hastily coming up deploying in line of battle, no more the sad, unnatural shows of war. But on these days of brightness, On the far stretching beauteous landscape, the roads and lanes, the high-piled farm wagons and the fruits and barns, should the dead intrude? Ah, the dead to me mar not. They fit well in nature. They fit very well in the landscape, under the trees and grass, and along the edge of the sky in the horizon's far margin. Nor do I forget you departed, nor in winter or summer my lost ones, but most in the open air, as now, when my soul is wrapped and at peace. Like pleasing phantoms, your memories, rising, glide silently by me. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. At this time, I invite Joanne Hanley, President of the Gettysburg Foundation, to the podium for a special presentation.
Thank you. What a hard act to follow. That was not a talk to us. That was a talk about us. I think it touched the heart and soul of everybody here. We thank you. I thank you on behalf of everybody. This is my first dedication day in Gettysburg, and I have to say it's quite overwhelming and humbling to be here on this rostrum just steps away from where Abraham Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be part of the Gettysburg Foundation. I'm honored to be a partner with the National Park Service and Gettysburg National Military Park as we work together to enhance preservation and understanding of the heritage and that enduring significance of Gettysburg that we so eloquently just heard about. And as we approach the 150th commemoration of the Battle of Gettysburg and the Gettysburg Address, the Foundation plans to forge a legacy of stewardship through preservation efforts with our partner and other partners as well, as we work to ensure that no one ever forgets what happened here. The speech that Lincoln gave here was a defining moment in our history and our nation, and we want the 150th and the legacy that we leave behind for our children and our children's children to be a defining moment in preservation, to be treasured and remembered 150 years forward. None of what we do, however, is possible without our friends, people who share the passion for this place and who realize its significance and its relevance to current and future generations. We thank all of you, every single one of you, who have come today for caring. I'd like to ask Mr. Lang to please come forward for a presentation. Mr. Lang is one of those people whose passion for this place is contagious. On this 148th anniversary of the Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, we thank you, Mr. Lang, for your inspirational words, for your dedication to this hallowed ground. And on behalf of the Foundation, let me help you uncover our gift to you. Thank you. It's a picture of the luminaries from the evening dedication ceremonies on November 19th. So on behalf of today's sponsors, the Lincoln Fellowship of Pennsylvania, the Gettysburg National Military Park, and the Civil War Institute, we are so pleased to present you with this print of the Remembrance Illumination, which takes place right here at Soldiers National Cemetery every year. and serves as a solemn commemoration of the sacrifices made on this and more distant fields. Given your work, your passion, and your dedication, may this always serve as a symbol for you of Gettysburg's lessons of honor, courage, and sacrifice, and of the timelessness of Mr. Lincoln's words. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Now, I have great honor and pleasure in introducing the Commander-in-Chief of the Union Forces, our beloved 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now, we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in larger sense, we cannot dedicate. We cannot consecrate. We cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us. That from these honored dead, we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.